On today's show, do the Dallas Mavericks have the worst starting center in the NBA? We ranked them. We'll tell you if they do on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks Basketball.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Join the Raccoon Squad, be an everydayer. Subscribe, follow for free. Just search Locked On Mavericks wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. The best way you can help us grow the show is to like, listen every day, and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section, how can the Mavericks fix their starting center problem? This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. If you want to support the show, text us, get text alert from us on Mavs Rumors, watch film with me, and more. Subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description, or text the number that's on the screen. There it is. Look at rolling across right under Isaac's name. Now it's going. Oh, there he goes. Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com, the starting center sultan, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Nick, how do you feel about pickleball?
I have not played pickleball yet. I have somehow avoided it so far, but I'm interested.
I feel like we should challenge somebody, like Nick, you, and myself, against two other listeners of the show.
My brother-in-laws are very into it. Like, my one brother-in-law bought his own paddle and then like bought a better paddle after that. Like, you're two paddles deep. Like, you're really into something then, right?
I was at the gym today and I was just kind of sad because I looked down and the gym I go to has two full court basketball courts and they had pickleball all on one court and then half of the other court. And then there's an outdoor basketball court too. Pickleball all across the court, so you couldn't even shoot. I'm like, what are we doing in our whole communities now that we're replacing basketball courts with freaking pickleball courts? Play tennis.
Honestly, you want the reason why Team USA lost in the FIBA World Cup? It's because we're replacing our basketball courts with pickleball courts. This is why we're losing. It's pickleball. There's some kind of secret fund money, seed money that's coming in, dirty money coming in to boost all these pickleball courts all over the place and to take over the basketball courts. And it's coming from countries like Serbia, Slovenia, Germany. It's coming from all these countries to try and push down the United States so Team USA loses. You heard it here first.
You know who doesn't have pickleball courts on their basketball courts? Dwight Howard's house in Taiwan.
I can imagine Dwight Howard playing pickleball, though.
Yeah.
On today's show, we are going to rank the starting centers. We've been doing this. We did starting guards. We did best wings in the NBA. And now we're doing just starting centers. We're not going to do bigs in general because there'd be so many.
We're going to have to go down the list pretty far.
We're going to do just the 30 starting centers in the NBA. We agreed on who the starting centers are, so we have agreed on that. But we haven't agreed on our list yet. And we want to start by talking about Dwight Powell. Is Dwight Powell the worst starting center in the NBA? Or do the Mavericks have the worst starting center in the NBA? And I'm just going to answer it right away. I mean, why titillate? Why tease the audience too much here? Yes.
No, they don't. No.
All right. Make the case then. Because he was number 30.
No, this is going to sound like we're really going to sit here and argue 28 versus 30.
I mean, go ahead. Make the case because I can't.
I would rather have him over Zach Collins.
It's not the game. It's not the game.
I think he's better than Zach Collins and Dan Gafford.
Okay. I have Zach Collins 28. I have Daniel Gafford 29. I think that they bring stuff.
We're not going to sit here and spend the whole pod arguing who's better between
the whole pod.
Dwight Powell, Gafford, and Zach Collins.
We could spend 2 minutes on it. Why do you think he's better than those two guys?
I just think, what I would rather have, or I think what makes a guy better is when they have an elite skill. And I think Dwight Powell's ability to set screens and roll to the basket as an elite rim roller, I think he's elite at that. And so I just go to the other two guys and it's like, hey, like, they're okay. I mean, I could hear the Daniel Gafford and say, hey, he's much better than Dwight. Like, I wouldn't say much better. I could hear that he's slightly better. I'm not here for Zach Collins is better than Dwight. That's Dwight slander.
Zach Collins last year averaged 11, 6, and 3 assists.
Yeah, on the worst team in the league. Yeah.
On one of the worst teams in the league. Yeah, he's the starting center for the Spurs now. It's not going to be Wembanyama. Like, we already know that Zach Collins is going to start. Wembanyama is going to be the 4, we think. And I would rather have – I think Zach Collins is a better player. I think he has more skills. I think that the diversity of skills to me matters a little bit more than the Elite 1 skill, especially if you're Elite 1 skill. This is – for the Dwight Howard haters, this is going to be a good podcast for you. For the ones that think we're too hard on Dwight Powell, this is going to be –
Powell, not Howard.
Oh, sorry. For the Dwight Powell haters, this is going to be a good episode for you. If he's rolling so much, he only scores 6 points a game. Like, you're not getting that elite. If that's his elite skill, you're not getting it very much in a game. He also only averages 19 minutes a game. So if your starting center averages 19 minutes a game, I think that's the lowest on this list, actually, of all.
I was going to say, do we have that compared to everybody else on this list?
Well, Collins is like 23 minutes. I think Gafford was 24, 25.
Yeah, because you could look at some of this.
Gafford was 20 minutes on the Wizards last year, which is why I had him 29.
Yeah. I mean, we could go back and forth and be like, all right, well, what if Dwight had more minutes on a bad team, but had a point guard that could still run the pick and roll? Like, would his numbers be a little bit better? Maybe. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like I have Dwight at 20, and he's not. Like, we both consider him one of the worst starting centers in the league.
If you're doing your tiers that we usually do, I have these 3 in a tier on their own: Zach Collins, Daniel Gafford, Dwight Powell. The thing is, though, you made that case like, oh, we're not going to pretend. What if Dwight Powell's on a team that has a good point? He is on a team that didn't make the playoffs last year with a really good point guard, whereas Zach Collins and Daniel Gafford were on bad teams last year, and they don't have good point guards at all, really.
Here's a point I do want to make with it of when you look at in the third segment, we're going to actually go through our list and where we have, exact players and stuff. But I think it's fascinating that you look at the bottom of this list and the bottom, 6 to 7 centers on at least my list.
Yeah, I have 6.
Most of these teams sucked last year. And it goes to show for me, like, because I'm looking at, Dwight, obviously you're looking at the Spurs, the Wizards, stake the Mavs out for a second. I have Nurkic down there. I have Steven Adams down there, Mark Williams, Jalen Duren. Like, you're looking at the Pistons and Hornets. The Blazers are going to suck this year. Now, Adams, yes, Memphis, they're a good team. But, I don't know what you like fully pull from that of saying like, hey, if you have one of the worst, centers, you're a bad team. It's not as direct as that, but it does go to show you that if you do have one of those bottom center, starting centers in the league, you really got to make up for it on the other end for the rest of the 4 spots.
Well, the Mavericks, we made the case a couple days ago that they have 2 of the top 10 at least top 7, we think, guards like of the entire league, top 7 guards in the entire NBA, and they have the 30th center. Like that, it's such a vast gap. Like you said, you have to make up for it in other areas, but I think it just illuminates how bad this problem is for the Mavericks. And it's not Dwight Powell's fault. I want to reiterate that several times. It's not Dwight Powell's fault. He is the player that he is. He's played his role, and he's just been thrust into a position that he shouldn't be in. The Mavericks should have a better center than this. They should have addressed this years ago when Nico Harrison said that he wanted to, or this offseason when Nico Harrison said that he wanted to. They still could. I guess they still have time that they can still try.
Yes, they still could, Nick.
They still could. We talked about DeAndre Ayton a little bit yesterday. Maybe that trade resurfaces. And honestly, they have Richaun Holmes and Dereck Lively, and they're kind of answers to this too, that they could step up and they could be better than 30th on this list. So coming up next, I want to talk about where Richaun Holmes and Dereck Lively could fit. What if Dereck Lively's good right away? Where could he rank on this list? So we'll talk about the bottom of our list, and then at the end, we'll talk about where we have all the guys on this list and all that. So we'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has you covered for your covers all over the place in sports. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. They have all kinds of stuff for the NBA. They have NFL stuff every week. You can just check their popular wagers and all that. They have wins. Let's see if has the Mavs win changed. 44.5 wins for the Mavericks. I think we're both going over that. Minus 110. You can bet the over on that one. So check it out. They have season specials. Oh, here's interesting. Kyrie Irving to average 25 points and 6 assists. Plus 210.
Ooh,
That's
get some money on that.
That's an interesting one. Check that one out. Again, FanDuel.com/LockedOn. If you bet $5, you get those guarantees. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, being an everydayer. We will be back on Sunday night, Monday, talking more Dallas Mavericks. Hey, the season is like right around the corner. The Mavericks Media Day is 2 weeks from today if you're listening to this on Friday.
It's pretty insane.
And you know that Locked On Mavs will be there. And we're getting interviews again this year.
Whoa!
Yeah. Third year in a row, we're going to be doing our media station. We'll have interviews for Media Day. So stick with us. We'll have you guys covered. Locked On Mavs 5 days a week all throughout the season. Every single post game as well. All right, Isaac, let's talk about the starting center. So we both agree that the Mavericks have one of the worst starting center spots in the league right now. If it's Dwight Powell. If Richaun Holmes becomes a starting center, and Richaun Holmes can be back to what he was a couple years ago with the Kings, do you change your ranking at all? Where would Richaun Holmes slot if we get that Richaun Holmes?
He would probably move up just a few more slots. I think you're looking at names at that point. I'm looking at like Zubats. I'm looking at name like a Rob Williams, somewhere through there, maybe that if you're getting that, like the best version of Holmes that we've seen, which, it's not like it's like all-star, but like the best version of Richaun Holmes. Yeah, but I wouldn't move it up too far. I wouldn't say that like, hey, he has the potential to move up into the top half centers in the league. I don't think that.
Yeah, I think it would just be a couple more because what he would bring that would be better than Dwight Powell is he'll bring a little bit more rebounding. We know he can score a little bit more because he's got the same elite pick and roll stuff, but then he also can bring the little push shot in the lane that he has. I think that's something that we can expect from him. And so he can bring scoring a little bit more. I think his defense a little bit more. He blocks more shots than Dwight Powell. And when he was on the court, the defense was okay for the Kings, which is good because the Kings defense was really bad when he was playing, but when he was on the court, it was okay. So like I think he'll bring a couple more things than what Dwight Powell can. So for my list, I had Dwight 30th, Daniel Gafford 29th, Zach Collins 28th, Nurkic 27th. So I think I would put him where Nurkic is. I think I would put him at 27th instead of
just like a step
at 30th. So he goes up to another tier, I think. If Richaun Holmes returns to that, and that would be a good thing for the Mavericks to have a better center than what they have now, and then to have two because we still expect Dwight Powell to bring all the stuff he's going to bring. You just got to get 48 center minutes, and we know Maxey is going to take 5 or 6 of them in a closing lineup or in some kind of lineup, and you got to come up with 42, 43 more minutes somehow. So the other question I want to answer: if Dereck Lively is good right away, we've got rookie center on here. I've got a rookie center pretty high on my list actually. Where would you put Dereck Lively if he is? Or rookie center for last year, I have high. But where would you put Dereck Lively if he's good right away? Everything we expect him to be, he can come in the NBA and it translates.
Yeah, this one's really tough because I think when we start doing our tiers, there's that tier towards the bottom that I have of Jalen Duren and Mark Williams.
Yeah, that
both showed some flashes, both going to be the starting center next year for their teams, and both of these dudes could, honestly, take a big leap, right? If you told me Jalen Duren just had like a monster, year, I wouldn't say he's a top 10 center, but if he moved into the top half, then yeah. Or, Mark Williams was a little bit more rustier at the beginning of last season compared to the end. But I think the floor, I think it is that Mark Williams, Jalen Duren level. I think if everything hit, then I'm looking at the Nick Claxton, Wendell Carter, maybe Şengün range.
Yeah, I think I would have
for year one. Year
Right.
one. That's
Right.
like everything hit, which you don't expect everything to hit in year one, but that's kind of like there's a wider range with Dereck Lively than there is with Richaun Holmes and Dwight Powell, in my opinion.
I'm right with you. I have a tier with like Jalen Duren, Chet Holmgren, even Mark Williams, Wendell Carter Jr., like that whole tier. That's like my 21 to 24. And so I think Dereck Lively, if everything fits, because he brings tools and he can defend the rim, he can rebound a little better. He says
you have Chet with those guys.
I do. I don't think
Chet much higher.
I don't think Chet's going to be that good this early, and I think it'll take a little while. Okay. With the same reason why Dereck Lively's not going to be that good that early. So, but if everything hits for Chet, yeah, I would have him higher. If we're doing the same game for him that we are for, but I'm doing realistic. I wouldn't have Dereck Lively on the board if it was realistic. But if we're doing pie in the sky, if everything hits for him, so that's what I find with him. And he's the answer. I mean, he's the answer to the Mavericks center problems. If he can be good, and in 2 years or next year, if he's ready to start, if he's ready to play 25 minutes, then that's a really good answer for the Mavericks. You slot Dwight and maybe Richaun Holmes into smaller roles. That'd be perfect.
But it's the bigger picture and the bigger conversation of when we do exercises like this. Yes, it's fun for content. It's fun to do rankings and everybody tell you where you're wrong and all this stuff. That's part of it. But it's also just another realization of when you make these type of lists, no matter those are the three options right now for the Mavericks. And we're saying, man, even if everything hits for Dereck Lively, we're talking what 20th, maybe like in year one, like the highest possibility of that is he's still going to be raw and all of that. So it goes to show you again, it's like, man, like whoever starts for Dallas, they're going to have one of the bottom third centers in the league. Yeah. And to the point I was trying to make earlier about looking at these bottom teams, and it's like, all right, Zach Collins, San Antonio, Gafford, Washington. But even when you go up past like Jalen Duren and Mark Williams, like you're looking at those next set of centers, like in roughly in that range. Nick Claxton, where are the Nets going to be this year? Şengün, like Houston's going to probably like suck again. Like Wendell Carter, where are the Magic going to be? Mitchell Robinson, Knicks had a good year. Zubats, depends on the health of the other guys. Rob Williams is like one of the only guys kind of in that range where like, all right, Boston's going to be really good. But look everything that's around Boston. Derek White had a massive season, a good season last year, but they have these two superstars on the wing and Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like it just shows you that if you're going to have a center in the bottom third of starting centers in the league, you better hit every single other part for you to be a dang good team in the league. Because you could go the opposite direction and say, look at some of the top half of the teams, and we're going to name them in this third segment, and look at the top 10 centers in the league or the top 15, and how many of those teams were in the playoffs last year or projected to be in the playoffs next year.
Where do our centers rank? Who do we have one? It's a big surprise. Who we have number one. We'll rank all of our centers coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about a problem I didn't know that I would have that Jase Medical solves. Being caught unprepared with some kind of infection, some kind of sickness that you don't know how to treat. I got my case right here. You can see it. You can listen to it on the podcast. I got the case. It comes with the pill bottles. It comes with the capsules, and it comes with the booklet that tells you all the things that it treats. That's very, very helpful. Anthrax, things you don't think of, animal or human bites, itching, motion sickness, pneumonia, and skin infection. If you get caught, and tinnitus, if you get caught and you don't have, you're not able to get to a hospital, you're not able to get to medical treatment, for some reason, Jase has you covered, so you can feel peace of mind knowing that in any situation you'll be able to take care of yourself, take care of your family. Plus, you can save more than $360 by getting these antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using our code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's Jase, Jase medical.com. Check it out. Get the peace of mind. Get your Jase case. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, and thanks for getting past that break because I just played our outro instead of the out of the. I played the outro video instead of the out of the ad video. All right, Isaac, let's rank our centers. Number 1, Nikola Jokic in a tier in his own. You can just blow past that one. Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, Domantas Sabonis, Bam Adebayo. That's my next tier.
Oh, come on. You can't put Joel Embiid and Sabonis in the same tier.
Well, okay. I'll put Joel in his own tier. Joel
is closer to Jokic than the other guys.
Okay. Joel in his own tier, Anthony Davis, Sabonis, and Bam Adebayo in his own.
Yeah, I dropped Sabonis into the next tier.
Now we've gone so far with these rankings that now the numbers are not only things that we can argue about, but the distance between the numbers now matters a lot more than
you just try to put Joel with Sabonis the same tier. No.
They're two numbers difference. One is 2 and one is 4.
I put Anthony Davis and Bam in the tier of their own for that second tier. The third tier for me has 4 names, and one of those is Sabonis for me.
Well, who do you have with Sabonis then?
I have DeAndre Ayton, I have Rudy Gobert, and Brook Lopez.
I threw my next tier is the same as yours, except for I have Miles Turner as number 6. I have him in that.
I was wondering where you would have Miles Turner because it's just part of your heart. It's like, how are you? Real quick, let's go like tier 2 for a second. Anthony Davis or Bam? Is it clear that people would have Anthony Davis?
Now, it should be Anthony Davis because we're doing this list on who's a better player, not who would you want, right? Like that's the whole game because we're trying not to put injuries and all that. If you put injuries, then I think I may rather have Bam than Anthony Davis. But
it's frustrating watching DeAndre Ayton because, like, on paper, he should be in that, like, second tier, right? Like, just
I know
where he's at in his career, his, like, the physical frame of him, and
who he
like
was picked ahead of.
Yeah. He should be in that next tier, but am I too low on Sabonis, like having him in that second tier?
Yeah, I think he should be in that up one. I think his season was so good, just made All NBA. I think
so. Sabonis and Bam should be in the same tier.
I think so. I think they're right on the same level to me.
Interesting.
I think Sabonis was really good.
All right, well, I'm about to make you even more mad. So because I have Jared Allen and Clint Capella over Turner.
Yeah, you can't get me with Clint Capella on that one.
Okay.
Jared Allen, maybe I could hear a case for, but yeah, I'm not hearing Clint Capella. I think Clint Capella had really good playoff games, or he had the playing games were really good, but he waxes and wanes sometimes. Like I listen to Locked On Hawks, and he's not always like, Clint Capella is the answer. Brad Rowland puts on an excellent program. Get out of here.
No, I love Brad. I'm just saying, listening to Trae Young content every day sounds tough.
If you want to listen to Trae Young content from somebody that is like down the middle, like unbiased, like Brad is that. That's what you're doing.
Brad's a great host, yeah.
I have Vooch at 10 because I think he brings offense and rebounding, and like I think that he brings more than some of these other like just rim protectors. Your Jarrett Allens, your Nick Claxtons, your Clint Capellas. You know what I mean?
All right, so you have. I struggle with Vooch a lot. I'm glad you brought it up because we're talking about who's the better overall player,
right?
And because I think there's a lot of other names I'd say, I think I'd just rather have this player over Vucevic, and it kind of sucks. Yeah, I know it's not the game. Because even when you watch him in FIBA, and it's like, all right, you're reminded of the versatility that he has on the offensive side of the ball, and I have him a little bit lower, and I'm gonna surprise you of a couple names I have ahead of him though.
That's fine. It's and talent and who you think is better is subject to what you have.
A little bit of its projection for this year, but still.
Okay, yeah. He's about to turn 33. I have Jarrett Allen next, and he's in this next group of like just rim protectors that could kind of go in any order. Jarrett Allen, Walker Kessler, Nick Claxton, Jakob Poeltl, Clint Capella, Kevon Looney, Mitchell Robinson, Rob Williams. Like that whole group is like they all are very similar, and they're all kind of bunched up for me, just like that group.
You have Rob Williams way much and Mitchell Robinson way higher than I do.
Mitchell Robinson at 17, Robert Williams at 18.
Okay. So, one, two, three, four. Of course, I did tiers and not the numbers here. At 12 and 13, I have Walker Kessler and Chet Holmgren.
I can hear that with Chet. I can hear
you can though, like, because
yeah,
I don't think he's the same as like. I don't think he's the same as Dereck Lively. Like he was
fair.
Like there's a reason why he was at the top of that draft and one, back and forth for who is going to be.
So is Hasheem Thabeet.
1, 2. I think if as long in Chet, it looks like he's healthier. It looks like he has put on some muscle. I think Chet's going to have a big year. And I just gotta, like, if it comes down, like, if you're telling me who's the better overall player next year, Chet Holmgren or Jakob Poeltl, I'm taking Chet.
Yeah, I could hear it. I could also see a scenario where Chet just gets bodied next year. Just the physicality of the game is just a lot. He still impacts the game. So I have him 22. Like he's on the bottom end of that next group that I just mentioned. But to get him to like what 13, you had him at, that wouldn't be a huge jump for him to make. It's not like there's all-stars in between him and him and that next. We both have Walker Kessler at 12. That's kind of surprising.
Yeah, that is surprising. Okay, remind me again where you had Mitchell Robinson and Rob Williams.
Mitchell Robinson at 17, Rob Williams at 18.
Okay, that's not too bad. I had him at 21 and 22.
Yeah.
Where'd you have Looney again?
The middle section is all jumbled up. I have him at 16.
Okay. I have Looney at 17, but
yeah.
I have somebody at 16 that you haven't even said yet.
Şengün?
No, Valanciunas.
Yeah, Valanciunas at 20.
Okay, that's not too bad.
It's like
4 spots different.
And,
like,
and again, it's like it's what I value the rim protection more than I'll value the the low post scoring that Valanciunas brings. So I have all those rim protectors higher than Valanciunas at this point.
Okay.
I have Şengün at 19, Valanciunas at 20, Jalen Duren at 21, Chet Holmgren at 22, Mark Williams 23, Wendell Carter Jr. 24. So that's like that. That's like my young guy group. Şengün, Duren, Holmgren, Mark Williams, Wendell Carter. Like they could all be much higher on this list next year. This is where I have it right now.
Yeah, I have Şengün at 18, to where I have like Duren and Mark Williams at like 24 and 25. I think he just showed more overall, and I like Şengün's game a lot. I'm curious on like defensively what he is, but
I've heard that Şengün is taller than he was last year. He's listed at 6'9" on Basketball Reference, and they're saying that he's 6'11" now, which does make a big difference.
It's that Jaden McDaniels offseason.
I mean, it makes a big difference, especially if you're a guy that's trying to have a Jokic type game. You take all the size you can get at that point, because you're not beating anybody with speed at all in any sense.
Where'd you have Nick Claxton again?
I had him at 13, right behind Walker Kessler.
Interesting. I had him at 19, and I really like Claxton a lot, but I was struggling of like where to put him on the list.
Yeah, I may have gone a little too high with him because
I like him a lot. I like him. I've been enamored of seeing him in a Mavs jersey because what he would bring to Dallas would be perfect. Of just the rim rolling, defending the paint. But he is so dang skinny, and it's like asking him to bang down low against some of these bigger guys. That's just not going to happen. But
yeah, he's listed at 6'11", 215, which is like just about what Chet is listed at. So I mean, Chet's 205, I think, but you're right about the same.
Yeah.
Then my bottom six are two different tiers: Zubac, Steven Adams, Nurkic, and then my bottom tier: Zach Collins, Daniel Gafford, Dwight Powell.
Yeah. It's pretty wild to think about the drop. I mean, obviously it's age and stuff too, but like Steven Adams and Nurkic. And the Nurkic stuff, I went back and looked at some of those numbers because at first I debated Nurkic versus Dwight.
I did too. I did this exact same thing. But
then I started looking back at some of his numbers, and I was like, all right, like I can't really do this. Like I can't.
No.
I wanted to come into the spot and be like, all right. Because the Nurkic contract is bad.
Yeah.
And it's viewed really bad. And, he can't really defend on it. Like he's kind of just out of his era now. And I just wanted to come into the pod and be like, hot take, Dwight over Nurkic. I just couldn't do it.
What a hot take.
Shut up.
Well, the other thing is I looked up his on-off numbers, and like they're better when he's on the court. So if I'm going to give Dwight Powell credit for the Mavericks being better when he's on the court, I got to give Nurkic credit for the Blazers being better when he was on the court last year. So, but yeah, I had him at 27. The Steven Adams Zubats, that's such a pairing to me because they don't really bring an elite skill. Right? Maybe Steven Adams, it's like his screening and his like screening for others to get rebounds. Like, you know what I mean? That's sort of his skill, but it's still not like not an elite rim protector, not an elite, pick and roll guy.
Yeah.
They're just but they're solid like centers, which the thing that stands out to me is you get solid centers, like solid starting centers all up until like 26. And then it's Nurkic, Collins, Gafford, Dwight Powell. Like there's 4 teams in the league without a solid starting center.
Yeah. It's going to be ironic, though, whenever the Dame trade happens next week and Nurkic just rerouted to Dallas, and we're going back to this conversation.
Hey, we didn't have him
who's
last.
Better?
We didn't have him last.
Like, Dwight or Nurkic? And then we're on that next pod saying, dude, we got a solidified upgrade.
We both had him 3 spots higher than where Dwight was.
Now we went from 28 to 27. And
they still wouldn't have had one of the solid centers that I mentioned, though. Like, if they got Steven Adams, yeah, you have one of the 26 solid starting centers. That is crazy, though.
But think about I know we're pressing on, but like on time, but like think if Dallas can move into that next tier and have a guy like what it would do for their team if it was Zubats, Rob Williams, Mitchell Robinson, like a Looney, a Valanciunas, like that type of. It's like we're not even asking for a top 10 guy. Just give us a top 20 guy. Top 25.
Not even asking for much. Yeah, this is what Mavs fans have been asking for. And honestly, it's what Nico Harrison has been asking for, saying that they need to get better at rim protecting and rebounding 2 off seasons in a row. And here we are.
And they're trying. He's trying, Jennifer.
There you go. Let us know in the comment section, how can the Mavericks fix their center position? Let us know how you disagree with our rankings. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.